Now then, let's get to the fours. Chesed. Now, one of the things about chesed is we first made a point, then we've made a line, then we've made a triangle, and yes, it would be logical if we were now about to make a square, but we're not, because this is the really important thing. Because with chesed, we have crossed the abyss. We are no longer in the supernal world of pure God. We are now down in a more real world. And so chesed, that fourth point, it doesn't make a square, it makes a pyramid. It is a point hovering above the triangle. It is a three-dimensional shape. And so, as I talk about chesed, it's a very stable shape, but it is not a square, it is a three-dimensional sort of pyramidal shape. Now, does that make any sense?
Yeah. Sorry, I just kind of was pondering on the rain.
Oh, no. Rain is awesome when I'm indoors. So, chesed, as I say, is the fourth point, the fourth ingredient in existence. It makes this sort of three-sided pyramid rather than square. And really, being past the abyss and the supernals, the last seven sephira are known as the Sephiros Habinyon, the potencies of construction. They create everything in the universe as we actually understand it. And this is why chesed, sort of makes the three-dimensional shape. It takes the triangle of Bina and translates it into our more real material world. Chesed is the Sephirot of bounty and giving. It's a wise, generous ruler concerned with building and expanding from the raw ideas of what has come before. If you notice, you kind of have three pillars in your little tree of life arrangements there. And so, on one side, you have Chokmah, Chesed, and as we're going to talk about later. On the other side, you have another three. In the middle, you have more. And so on the left side, that is the feminine pillar. On the right side, that's the masculine pillar, I do apologise. On the left side is the masculine pillar. It's all creative and stuff. I'm so sorry, that was a terrible line. Now, on the right side, you have the feminine pillar. And in the middle, you have this kind of androgynous, hermaphroditic pillar, and that is kind of the idea that they felt was perfection. They felt that humans should always try, at our spiritualist height, to be that middle pillar, not left or right. Now, so it's the second thing along that creative masculine pillar, and it's, as I say, it's very jovial, and I mean that in the sense of as associated with Jupiter, the Roman god. It is very much that sort of Jupiter association of all the bounty and the good stuff, but also with, sadly, the Jupiterian thing of a bit too much. Chesed is the emanation of cupboard love. It is feeding something or someone until they burst, until they're sort of so obese they have health problems. It is Jupiter who has a whole lot of love to give and gives it to anything, male or female, he can possibly get his hands on. It is, as I say, the cancerous cell that won't stop growing and expanding, even to the point where it threatens the life of the body it's built from. That is chesed. It's an interesting one as well, because it's a fiery thing. I mean, Bina is described as fire from water, and then we get chesed, which is linked with Jupiter and his lightning bolts, which is this sort of, fiery thing that comes out of storms. Chesed is the sephirot of making something, perfected, of having a bird in the hand, but it isn't the last step in the process. It is the first step on something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect is the idea that you don't know how little you know when you know nothing, basically. Those who go into something not knowing anything think they're much better than people who are actually experts in it, who think they're idiots, because they are aware of what they don't know. And chesed is that first step, unfortunately, on the Dunning-Kruger effect. It is the first time you made a cake and you know, thought you were ready for the bake-off. It's the first time, you know, you built something out of wood and thought you're the world's greatest craftsman. That is really kind of one of the things we're looking at in chesed. As the number 4, it represents stability, foundation, and expansion. It represents the sort of fertility of 3 coming together and consolidating itself. Pythagoras called it the tetrad, the square, and you know, once we do have this 4-sided shape, we have something that possesses real 3-dimensional existence. It has a proper mass, really, for the first time. Pythagoras also felt that the 4s were sort of the great divisor of the universe. You know, there were 4 liberal arts, 4 functions of the soul. And because of this, he felt it was even possibly the key to immortality. Now, I always go to them first. I'm going to give you guys a bit of time first, and I'll reverse my direction this time. So, what do you guys think?